So I'm gonna walk through exactly what will happen to your driver's license after you've been arrested for a DUI in Illinois. So here at Driver Defense Team, we're trying to make this simple. We're trying to explain this process to you in the simplest terms possible, and then let us handle the complex part in court. So if you get arrested for a DUI in Illinois, your license is probably set to get suspended. See, how it works is the officer fills out a piece of paper during the DUI arrest, and he sends a copy down to Springfield, the Illinois Secretary of State. And so what that piece of paper is, it states that either you did some chemical tests, blood, breath, or urine test, and you were over that legal limit, or you refused them altogether. And in either case, you're getting suspended, or at least set to get suspended. Because what the Secretary of State here in Illinois does is they get that and they say, well, we are the Secretary of State. We give you your license and we can take it away. It's a thing called implied consent. So that's what you're facing. And that suspension begins 45 days after you're arrested, typically. So on that 46th day, you may not be able to drive either for a period of 6 months if you took the test and failed, or 12 months if you refused. Now, what can you do about that? Well, whenever the government is taking away your property, which that is what's happening here when the Secretary of State takes away your license. Whenever that happens, you have the right to have a hearing, or kind of think of it like an appeal of that decision. Now, here in Illinois, that actually happens in court, not directly through the Secretary of State. Secretary of State has kind of said, like, we'll let the judges make those decisions on our behalf. And if a judge decides that this suspension should not occur, well, then Secretary of State says, we'll honor that. So a good DUI lawyer is going to jump on that right away, because we know how important it is that you continue to be able to drive. Everyone really needs to drive in this modern day and age. So a good attorney is going to file that paperwork, letting the court know that they intend to fight that suspension of the driver's license and requesting the documents it's going to allow them to do so. Those are things like police reports, standard field sobriety test reports, crash reports if there are any, certainly medical or toxicology reports. Videos is a huge one. There's often videos from an officer's dash camera, a body-worn camera, videos back at the police station. All those things are what a good DUI lawyer is going to request right away. Get them and understand what happened and understand what the arguments might be in order to overturn or stop that suspension of the driver's license. All right, so you've got a private attorney representing you, and they've gotten all that evidence and they're ready to have a hearing. Well, at that hearing, the judge will decide either that suspension stays in effect or it doesn't. So obviously, if a judge agrees that you shouldn't be suspended, it's wonderful. Your attorney, you have won that hearing and your license won't be suspended. However, if the judge does not agree with you, or for some reason you don't actually have that hearing, well then, yeah, you're going to be suspended for that period of time. Many times, in fact, for most first-time DUIs, there's still a plan B, and we help our clients with that. And that plan B is a permit with a breathalyzer device installed in the car. And that still allows you to drive while you're suspended. As long as you're driving that car with that device, you can drive anytime, day or night. So that's a great plan B and still allows our clients to get to work and whatever the case may be, even if they're suspended for a DUI. What we've talked about is all about the suspension of the license, but that's only half the issue. The other half is the DUI charge itself, the criminal charge. And that'll have an outcome too. And that outcome usually comes after you've figured out the license, right? The license is more urgent, then you move on to the criminal charge usually. So at the end of that 6 or 12 month suspension, typically you just get your license back. You have to pay a reinstatement fee to the Secretary of State, and then you can drive again like normal. Now, there are some situations where that isn't true. Like if you screw up on that breathalyzer device and they can extend that suspension longer. Obviously, catching additional cases would be a real problem and probably delay you getting that license back. And finally, if you get convicted of the DUI here in Illinois, well, you've got a whole new problem. The Secretary of State will revoke your license if you're convicted of a DUI. So typically most of our clients do just get their license back at the end of that suspension. Again, it's something we can help them out with and make sure that as soon as they're able to, they can drive legally. All right, guys, everything I said here applies to a first-time DUI here in Illinois. If it's your second or third, it can be a bit more complex, and you're certainly going to want to talk to a DUI lawyer. But I hope I was able to explain a little bit about the timeline and the effects upon your driver's license once you've been arrested for a DUI.